I don't know many teams that are going to respect this Eagles defense. They're not going to play any more Detroits. They're going to play some teams that are hurting right now. I mean.
Welcome in, everybody. Yeah, that sums it up. What's up, everybody? Marc Farzetta Devan Kaney, Derrick Gunn with you here, 6abc.com, as well as the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. Welcome in. Very disappointing 27-24 loss at the hands of the Los Angeles Chargers and Justin Herbert and Brandon Staley and them taking it to this Eagles team, at least when it comes to the defensive perspective. But before we just jump on that for a second, what did we say last week? We had to go after the cut and paste type of material. What could they do against the Lions that they could also do against this team in the LA Chargers? And what did they do? They ran the football. That was fun, right? We saw them run the football. Jalen Hurts threw the ball better in this game for the most part, and he had himself a great game, including that fourth quarter drive down the field. That was phenomenal what he was able to do there to lead the touchdown drive there with Devontae Smith capping it off. That was great to see. There's one thing they did, Gunner, in that Lions game that we did not see in this game. Any guesses, Gunner, Devin, any guesses what that could have been in tonight's football game? What did they not do against the Chargers that they definitely did against the Lions?
Oh, they let a passing attack just bomb away. But see, you're talking about two vastly different array of talent. You're talking about a Detroit offense that was devoid of weapons compared to a Chargers offense that is deep with weapons, deep with prolific pass catchers, and a quarterback who's only in his second year, but has been groomed from day one to be a pass-happy quarterback. Basically, the baton was passed from Phillip Rivers to him in terms of how they're going to run that offense.
Definitely.
And that's exactly what we saw. You got to see a prolific passing game. This kid, Justin Herbert, there's a reason why he was drafted as high as he was. This kid is already of elite status, and he makes very few mistakes with the football. And what did he finish? I'm looking here, 32 of 38. 32. How many quarterbacks have we seen complete 75, 85, 88% of their passes against this Eagles defense? They didn't get any pressure. They got no pressure on him hardly whatsoever. And he just stood back there and he picked them apart. And I mean, if you're just a fan of watching football, and I know the Eagles fans are bummed right now, but if you're just a fan of watching football and watching offensive football, then you enjoyed watching offensive football. It was gut-wrenching from an Eagles fan point perspective because their team lost. But this is the kind of offense you hope you see run in Philadelphia. Probably not this year, but hopefully in the next year or two.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mark.
No, that's okay.
You say, this is what upsets Eagles fans, and I think a lot of people weren't expecting to win tonight. But I also will say I saw a lot of positivity, and I felt, again, it's not one of those games that you look at and you're super proud of, but it's also not like the game against the Raiders and some of our other games this season that just leave me feeling completely hopeless. I do feel like our team went out there and gave, I don't want to say 100%, but like 95%. I think Herbert was hot after having a few bad games. He was due to have a comeback, and it's unfortunate that comeback happened tonight against the Eagles.
Yeah, but what you're going to see is this. Any team that can throw the football is going to have success against this Eagles defense. This is what you're going to see for the rest of the season. Now, moving forward, if you think about it, there's not another prolific passer on their schedule, except maybe Dak Prescott. And by the time they get to that game, the Dallas will probably have the division already wrapped up unless something devastating happens to that roster. But you look at the array of quarterbacks they're going to face from this point moving forward. The most prolific passer they're going to face is Teddy Bridgewater, who's a good quarterback. He's not at that upper echelon like a Patrick Mahomes or somebody like that. But, he can pick you apart if you don't get pressure on him. But beyond that, you've got the Jets, you've got the Redskins twice, you've got the Giants twice. So your chances are better against those teams coming up. But you better do something to patch up the back end. And we don't know how bad Darius Slay's hamstring is, so he could be out next week.
Mm-hmm.
And considering what Denver did today in Dallas, not just beat Dallas, but beat them down. They were up like 27-0 at one point in Dallas. Teddy Bridgewater looked like Joe Montana back there today. And now you got to go play them over there next week.
Well, whoever you're going to play from this point on, you're not going to win many games playing defense the way you did today. And Gunnar, to go back to your point for a second about, we knew we weren't going to face Jared Goff again today. We weren't going to see Jared Goff today. We were going to see Justin Herbert, who's, a rookie of the year type guy, right? Very talented. You mentioned that they felt very confident saying, Phillip Rivers, thanks for everything. See you later. And Justin Herbert, it's his time to shine, which was good for him. However, if you continue to allow quarterbacks to sit in the pocket and feel not at all threatened by you attacking them, not blitzing them, you being just 100% devoted to just your defensive line, attempting to get pressure, most notably from your DN positions, which you saw none of today, and you didn't see hardly any. I saw maybe one blitz, and I don't even think it was a true blitz. I just think the tight end decided to stay in, and then you had, what's the new defensive back's name who actually came up with Slay and made a play at the goal line. But he got into the backfield to actually cause a little bit of a pressure, which Justin Herbert eluded and made a throw down the field 18 yards for 18 yards. But you had to continue to apply pressure occasionally in this game, not blitz every play. I'm not asking for Jim Johnson. This defense can't do that. But if you're a quarterback, and this was my concern going into this game, one concern was not realized. Nick Sirianni, great job sticking with the run game. Even when you're down in the fourth quarter, you had a very balanced attack. You were able to use play action. Jalen Hurts played like a man in that second half throughout. But the guy that didn't make any adjustments, the guy that didn't do anything taken from the Lions game to apply it to this game, even a little bit, was Jonathan Gannon. How do you not attack Justin Herbert? Not every play, but just make him think. Like, it's the same reason we say keep running the ball. Even if it's not working, make the defense think that you still could run the ball so you could sell a play action later. Same thing here when you're talking about being aggressive as a defense. You have to be able to go into a game like this with a game plan to make still, although very good, still a young and experienced quarterback, try to make him and force him into mistakes. I didn't see any of that. And no, I'm not expecting you're all of a sudden going to turn him to Jared Goff, but I'm also expecting maybe not turn him into Derek Carr 2.0 from 3 weeks ago. That was one of my biggest concerns going into this game. If you don't apply pressure to Justin Herbert, he'll sit back there and he'll pick you apart. He'll turn into what you saw with Derek Carr a couple of weeks ago, and that's exactly what happened tonight. That, for me tonight, the most disappointing thing was Jonathan Gannon's lack of aggression on this defense. I don't know how he played so well, made great play calls against the Lions, just in terms of philosophy, not even in terms of success, just in terms of philosophy, and didn't apply any of that tonight against the Chargers.
Well, you didn't have to be a great play caller against Detroit.
Right.
Your corners could play man up against Detroit because Detroit had no deep threats. They were playing with second-tier wide receivers. And behind a very patched-up offensive line with a quarterback who's running for his life. They had no running game whatsoever in that game. So you didn't have to be a great play caller. This was another case of Jonathan Gannon showing a quarterback too much respect to the point they lit you up again. You're right. And I've said this time and time again all week long leading up to this game. You cannot just let that man sit back there and pat the football and find his targets, because when he finds his targets, he's going to make you hurt. So Jonathan Gannon showed Justin Herbert way too much respect. Now, you go after him early on to give him something to think about. And even if you got burned early on in this game, at least Herbert's thinking that pressure could be coming from somewhere. But once Justin Herbert and the offensive coordinator figured out what the Eagles were going to do, it was like shooting ducks in a barrel, man. It was too easy. That man passed for 356,
2 touchdowns, ran for another, yeah.
And most of it was effortless when you think about it. It was effortless. He was just slinging it all over the field. He completed passes basically to 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 different pass catchers in this game. Everybody got it on the front.
As a reminder, if we want to get even angrier about it, I believe the Chargers had not one, but two offensive linemen, two of their starters out. So we should have been able to get to Herbert a lot more than we did.
There you go.
And I also think it's ironic that, the constant defense of Jonathan Gannon's defensive scheme is, well, it stops the big plays. Well, what lost us this game? Our defense couldn't stop the big play. So it's not working clearly. And we keep doing it over and over again. I actually think my game ball last weekend after the Lions game was to Jonathan Gannon because I liked what he did. And it's mind blowing to me why we didn't see that again in a game against a good football team in the Chargers.
Let me say this. You know what? Good job, Nick Sirianni. Great job, Jalen Hurts. I didn't think I'd say that, especially with Nick Sirianni after this particular game, but here we are. Great job, Nick Sirianni. Great job, Jalen Hurts. I can't for the life of me figure out Jonathan Gannon. And in the early goings of this game, especially in that first half, you're seeing TJ Edwards make plays. This might have been TJ Edwards' best game ever as a Philadelphia Eagle. You're seeing guys like Davion Taylor make plays, Marcus Epps making plays. They're playing at the line of scrimmage. They're playing tough football. I was just waiting. It has to be a matter of time because those guys are being aggressive. Those guys are obviously amped up. Those guys were going to notch back-to-back wins for the first time this season. They want to win one game at the Link for the first time this season. Let's make that happen. And then you never saw that energy channeled to anything that related at all to pressure. There was nothing. There was nothing dialed up. There was no surprise. There was no safety blitz, corner blitz. There was no linebacker blitz. There was nobody rushing the line of scrimmage. You were just, hey, Javon Hargrave, please make a play again. Josh Sweat, please, we beg you, make a play again. Fletcher Cox, you know what? This one time, forget about the pass. Just go after the quarterback. Forget about the run, rather. Go after the quarterback. Make a play. We have to do something to upset the timing and the rhythm of Justin Herbert, and you didn't see that in this game. And you know what? For those big plays, Devin, that you mentioned, I'll give credit to Darius Slay for this. Was this his best game? No, and production is the bottom line, and he did not produce tonight. But he was right there, stride for stride down the field. He couldn't make the play on the ball, unfortunately. The other one with Parham, oh my God, that was just some freak mutant monster, just like palming Darius Slay's head and removing him from the picture. Other than that, he played tough, but he didn't play successful tonight. You really needed him to be the guy to make something happen. They made something happen at the goal line early in the game when they went for it on the 4th and goal. They didn't come up with it because he made a great play there. He was there stride for stride, but ultimately he didn't make the play. He had a pass interference call that I thought was some hand fighting, left the game with, I believe, a hamstring injury. But overall, I mean, you got to do something to try to upset the apple cart a little bit. And they didn't do anything. That I can't believe what I saw when I watched Nick Sirianni at the end of the first half run the ball 25 play. Well, they ran the ball 25 times. And on the other side of they only threw it nine times. But on the other side of the ball, you saw nothing that worked for you where you could throw your best effort in the face of the Chargers. There was not one time Jonathan Gannon looked at him and said, all right, you know what? Go ahead. You beat our best play. It was all reactionary every single time.
I think it shows you how little the Chargers respected the Eagles' defense when they went for it fourth down situations twice. Now, the Eagles' defense held and turned the ball over and got it back to the offense. But early on in the game, when you go for it on 4th down like that, you're telling the opposition, we don't fear you in a lot of ways. And the fact that the Eagles' defense was able to keep the Chargers 3 for 6 in the red zone. The score could have been even more lopsided than it was, but they kept the Chargers 3 for 6 in the red zone. So the defensive personnel did make some stops in the game. They just couldn't make enough necessary stops, especially in the second half of the game. I mean, they were winded. Once Justin Herbert got in the rhythm in the passing game, you could tell this Eagles defense was winded, man. And it happens, just like the Chargers defense was winded with the way the Eagles were running the football. I mean, I never thought I would see this season, but Nick Sirianni has ran the ball now in back-to-back games, 85 times in back-to-back games. So the game plan was very accurate in terms of what he should do, run the football against the last-ranked defense in the National Football League. Now, granted, a lot of the yardage was picked up with Hurts being able to escape because the Chargers did blitz. The Chargers did blitz Hurts on a number of occasions in the second half. He was able to spin out of it and pick up big first downs for the team to keep drives alive, which led to touchdowns. But I don't know how many teams that are going to respect this Eagles defense. They're not going to play any more Detroits. They're going to play some teams that are hurting right now. I mean, hey, I thought the Giants were an automatic win. Who did the Giants beat today? First place Raiders?
That's who they beat. Yep.
They beat the first place Raiders, right?
Mhm.
They held the first place Raiders, a very high scoring team, to 16 points in their backyard. Okay.
Yeah.
And they won that game. So now they're 3-5. They're right there with the Eagles now. Okay. So, that Giants game could be a little bit different. Washington is not a good team overall, but it's a division game. So Nick Sirianni and Jonathan Gannon have to. I'm tired of saying this. They have to keep going back to the drawing board and figuring out what is our identity going to be. Now, Nick Sirianni said leading up to this game, our personality could change week to week. No, your personality shouldn't change. Concepts change, but your program, whatever your program is, Tennessee is going to run the football. And you may make them pass a little bit more than they want to, but they're going to come at you and run the football, and they dare you to stop them from running the football. Teams like Kansas City, Tampa Bay, those are pass-first teams, and you have to make them come out of that. But that's their identity. We still don't know what the identity of this team is. We've seen them run the ball effectively against two of the worst run defenses in the National Football League. Now, when you get to Denver next week, you still have to try to run the football. Don't come out throwing the football and playing right into the opposition's hand, especially when you're on the road in a stadium where the air is a lot thinner. The game's going to be different. This Denver team is going to be jacked up because now they're that much closer to first place after a huge upset and win today. So, your identity right now over the last 8 days was run the football first, pass. I think Jalen Hurts is a much better quarterback after watching him these last two games, when he manages the offense instead of trying to be the offense.
Right.
Okay. Because of his athleticism. Now, he's not a great thrower. And I've said that time and time again. He's great in the intermediate passing game. I mean, he's a good passer in that regard, but he's not a great overall thrower. But he's a great athlete. And if you can establish this half of your game to take a lot of the pressure off of him in this half of the game, you have a much more effective Jalen Hurts and a much more effective Eagles offense.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. I would joke about it saying that it felt like Buddy Ryan's offense for the longest time, where it was like, hey, Randall, go make a play. And that was the offense. That's what it felt like for the longest time with Nick Sirianni. It was like, hey, Jalen, just go keep making plays. But real quick on the defensive thing again that you were getting into, Gunner. And Devin, I don't know if you saw this as well from Jeff McClain. For the fifth time this season, fifth in the last 7 games, the Eagles defense allows an opposing quarterback to complete more than 80% of his passes. Justin Herbert, 32 of 38, 84.2% for 356 yards, 2 touchdowns. Birds fall in this game as well. Fifth time in 7 games?
Yes.
No bueno. No bueno. No bueno.
I've never seen that before. I've never seen a defense allow a quarterback 5 times, let alone 2 times, but 5 times in the season, and you still have what? You're 3-6 now. So you have 8 games left to play, and it could happen again. And so 5 times within the first 9 games, quarterbacks have completed in excess of 80% of their passes against your defense. That's gotten people fired. Stuff like that gets people fired. So if this continues, I don't know if Jonathan Gannon will finish out the season.
Oh, no, that would shock me, quite frankly.
Well, what is, like, I don't want to say shocking, but surprising to me in terms of, I don't know the coaching dynamic, but I remember, I forget after what week it was when our defense, it was kind of like the realization game of like, wow, our defense really needs any type of scheme. And apparently Nick Sirianni spoke pretty firmly to Jonathan Gannon and told him to basically fix it. And if they're going back to the drawing board, like D-Gun, you say, and kind of creating a new personality, why it's mind-blowing to me what that conversation would have been going into this game, right? Because we did really well against Lions, and yes, it's the Lions, we've said that a million times, but also still the defensive scheme worked that time. We were aggressive, we owned the blitz more. And what the conversation was, where Jonathan Gannon's like, hey, you know what? Let's just go back to stopping the big play, to falling back, to letting letting Herbert just pass all over the field. It just is really frustrating to me. And I feel like every show we have a different coach that we're picking apart, and it's really usually Nick Sirianni or Jonathan Gannon. But Jonathan Gannon definitely deserves the criticism after this one.
You can't let these teams just walk up and down the field on you and hit you underneath. Because you have a lot of receivers. If you let them catch enough passes underneath, they're going to find a seam somewhere and take it to the house. And you saw the route that Mike Williams ran across the field on that 49-yard reception. He got past the cornerback, and Rodney McLeod thought he was going to break one way, and he broke the other way. Now you got him in one-on-one situation. First of all, great throw by Justin Herbert to put it where the DB couldn't get it, and an even greater catch by Mike Williams going down in the ground and picking that one off the turf to keep that drive alive. But you're going to have to come out of this too deep shell stuff. You're going to have to ask your corners. Now, you have two corners in Darius Slay and Steve Nelson who may not be considered perennial Pro Bowlers, but they're pretty good cornerbacks. And they're going to have to come up and play more bump and run. You're going to have to disrupt timing in passing games. They did absolutely nothing to disrupt the timing of the Chargers passing game. And if nothing else, mess up that rhythm so that a quarterback in certain situations may pat the ball just a little bit longer. It's amazing how we talk about this is a game of inches and it's a game of fraction of seconds. And sometimes that fraction of a second difference can be the difference between the ball being released from the quarterback's hand and the possibility of getting a quarterback sack. Mm-hmm. But basically, they just watched this man stand back there and just went back on their heels and just said, okay, my goodness, where's the next one coming? And all he did was spread you thin across the field. And then once Darius Slay went out of the game, that made it even easier pickings. And for the life of me, I don't understand, Devin and Mark. I understand you're limited in personnel. I get it. But there are things you can do differently. You got to send, like Mark said, you got to send backers. To just take a chance. Send somebody. Maybe you'll get the quarterback blindside, swipe the ball out of his hand, get a fumble, change the momentum, anything. You've got to do something different. You don't think these coaches and players are smart enough after you get to past the first 15, 20 plays to understand what an opposition is trying to do to you on either side of the football? And you make adjustments. This guy, Gannon, doesn't make adjustments against better personnel. Your personnel is not good enough to match up against better personnel on the offensive side. So do something a little different. If it doesn't work in the first quarter, first 20-plus minutes of a game, you then have time to go back to what you know best. But at least don't just tell people, wave the flag, hey, this is what we're going to do so you can just keep coming after us and we'll just see what happens. It doesn't work at this level.
Well, you mentioned Darius Slay. I want to go to a comment from Monkey Mind Bananas. He said, if we're watching Slay, that's literally his name. Verified source here. I have a point here because Deegan, I saw a tweet from you that it reminded me of, and I want to talk to you about it. He said, if we're watching Slay in a receiver's pocket and can't break anything up, but then Slay can't tackle, gets scored on, then he gets a holding penalty that keeps their drive alive. How is that on Gannon? I know you mentioned Slay, and we can talk about, how that is on Gannon, but I believe it was Slay tried to tackle someone up top, like 6'8", and you were like, why would you try to go for the legs, man? Right. So I want to get details and more of your opinion on that.
Okay, there's some validity to what that person said. Yeah, you're right. But first of all, you're talking Pop Warner football.
Hold on, Gunner. The man or lady's name is more Monkey Bananas or something. I don't know.
Monkey Mind Bananas.
I'm trying to get past that, Mark. I'm trying.
But they have a good point. They bring up a good point.
I said Slay was there to make the play, just didn't make the play.
No. You're taught from Pop Warner high school, college football. When you're tackling a bigger person, you go down low. Now, Darius Slay is 6 foot, a couple hundred pounds. You're talking about a man who's 6'8", 240 pounds. Okay. Why would you try to tackle him up in his chest when he has a wingspan like a California condor? And sure enough, all he did was just push you off and walk into the end zone. That was Darius Slay's mistake. But leading up to that, what are they doing? They're giving him too much cushion underneath. Look at how many out routes that Justin Herbert hit on them because they were giving them 10, 12-yard cushions. So I go back to what my point was. If you come up and play them a little bit tighter, Justin Herbert is not throwing those rhythmic throws. 1, 2, 3, throw here. 1, 2, 3, throw there in the middle of the field. He's standing back there, and you may have to have him survey to a second and third receiver instead of going to his primary target because you got DBs playing bump and run against him. But because of the fact they did nothing to upset his rhythm, those kind of plays set up what happened in the play that was a touchdown to Parham. Mm-hmm. So monkey brains, whatever your name is, thank you for your question.
I'm glad you said it, Devin. I'm glad. Thank you for tackling that one. Unlike Slay did. Hey-o. All right, that's enough. I do want to tell. I do. No. In all seriousness, there's one thing that we let down. Steven Nelson's penalty. You reminded me of this, Gunner. That was on a blitz. So the one time they blitzed,
they get a penalty.
He hit Justin Herbert too low. Now, we'll get into more on the defense. We'll also talk a little bit more about Jalen Hurts when we come back, because a little bit later in the show, we're going to be joined from the link. Our good friend John McMullen will be joining us from the link to break it all down and also let us know what Nick Sirianni had to say after this game, and also some of the players when Jalen Hurts addresses the media as well. But you are watching live post-game show, and it is presented by Ocean Casino Resort. Go for the live show. Go for the win. More live post-game show when we return.